Caitlin Clark effect isn't just changing the game, it's changing the business.
I feel like it's night and day from the day I got drafted.
Is Caitlin Clark bigger than the WNBA itself? That's the question nobody inside league offices wants to admit out loud, but the numbers don't lie. One player, a single young superstar, is carrying an entire professional league on her shoulders. And while that might sound like a fairy tale, it also raises a dangerous question. What happens if the WNBA becomes less of a league and more of a one-woman show?
I'd like to ask everyone we interview, and this might be a little difficult, but who is your favorite athlete in women's sports and why?
Ooh, I'll just tell you what happens when a active play-by-play broadcaster gets asked something like that. Like, even people say, like, oh, who's your favorite partner to work with or whatever. It's like you start thinking about, like, how do I not anger people who I have relationships with? So the way I will answer it is this. I have never experienced something like what it's like covering a Caitlin Clark.
Think about this for a moment. Just last season, Caitlin Clark wasn't just the Rookie of the Year, she was the ticket that kept the turnstiles spinning, the face that put jerseys on backs, and the reason ESPN's ratings shattered records every single time Indiana Fever stepped on the court. We've seen great players before, but never has one athlete been so directly tied to the economic survival of a league. Experts estimate Clark generated more than a quarter of all WNBA revenue last year. Yes, one player, 26% of the league. That's not growth, that's dependence. And here's where the debate heats up. Is Caitlin Clark saving the WNBA or exposing just how fragile it really is? Because when one star becomes the sun, everything else either revolves around her or gets burned up in her orbit.
How monumental is the Caitlin Clark effect? Clark will make her regular season WNBA debut on Tuesday when the Indiana Fever take on the Connecticut Sun. And as expected, the game is already sold out. The Suns' first sold-out home opener since 2003. Ticket prices have skyrocketed. Courtside seats for this game are reselling for over $2,000 each. As for the rest of the league, the Las Vegas Aces and Washington Mystics have already moved to bigger venues to accommodate for the demand when Caitlin Clark comes to town. The Indiana Fever have also become the most followed WNBA team on Instagram. The Caitlin Clark effect is real.
So buckle in. Today, we're diving into the billion-dollar impact of Caitlin Clark, the uncomfortable one-player league conversation, and whether the WNBA's biggest strength might secretly be its biggest weakness. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because this is going to get controversial. To understand why Caitlin Clark is being called the most important figure in women's basketball history, you have to look at how fast and how dramatically she's flipped the WNBA economy on its head. In 2024, she didn't just enter the league, she detonated into it. Every arena she touched sold out. StubHub reported that ticket prices for Fever road games shot up more than 140% the moment she came to town. Her rookie season averaged nearly 1.2 million viewers per ESPN broadcast, a number the WNBA had never sniffed before. Suddenly, preseason games in Iowa with Clark were pulling in more viewers than NBA preseason matchups featuring LeBron James. Let that sink in. But it wasn't just eyeballs and tickets. Clark's jersey sales smashed records.
Well, Caitlin Clark has had a remarkable impact on attendance. 35 consecutive sellouts at Carver Hawkeye. The senior average attendance over 14,900. Rookie season with Indiana, the home average attendance, a WNBA record over 17,000. And on the road, a league record over 15,000 average attendance.
The league has expanded to new cities, signed a massive $2.2 billion media rights deal, and seen unprecedented momentum. But peel back the layers, and Clark's fingerprints are everywhere. And that's where the one-player league debate really begins. Let's break this down piece by piece, because Caitlin Clark's influence isn't just hype. It's measurable, it's structural, and it's undeniable. First, the numbers. Clark averaged nearly 20 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds as a rookie. Solid stats, but nothing we haven't seen before in terms of production. What's unprecedented is how those stats translated into dollars and eyeballs. The Fever, a team that was an afterthought for years, suddenly outdrew the city's NBA franchise in per-game attendance. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when one player becomes bigger than her team, bigger than her league.
And it would be dishonest for me to say anything other than that if you're just talking about a regular season game to a regular season game, because there's just like a very unique phenomenon, which you guys are well aware of, around her that really makes every broadcast she's involved in feel like this big event.
Second, the media pull. 24 WNBA broadcasts crossed the 1 million viewer mark last season. Guess what? 21 of them featured Clark. That's not a league-wide surge, that's a Clark surge. Even Angel Reese, her college rival turned pro adversary, benefited because Clark was on the other side of the matchup. In short, Caitlin isn't just elevating herself, she's creating storylines, rivalries, and narratives that fuel the league's content machine. Third, the business side. Merchandise sales up 233% year over year. Sponsorship interest exploding. Corporate America isn't writing checks to the WNBA out of charity anymore. They're buying into the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. And when your star is more valuable than your league's entire marketing arm, that's a problem wrapped in a blessing. This is why critics are saying,
like, you have seen players in our league try to like toughen up Caitlin. We call her Cece. Cece. For even when I wasn't on her team, she's like 22, 23 years old, and the whole world is watching.
yes, the WNBA is rising, but is it rising because of women's basketball or because Caitlin Clark has become the sport's ultimate cheat code? Here's where things get uncomfortable. The WNBA is celebrating record-breaking growth, ticket sales soaring, merchandise flying off the shelves, and TV deals finally resembling real money. But strip away Caitlin Clark, and the question becomes, how much of this success survives without her? That's the dark side of the Clark effect. On one hand, she's the rocket fuel blasting the league into mainstream relevance.
It literally like pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What?
Sabrina? No.
No, there's really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them. Like, we have a lot of in our league.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah to that. I'm all for that. But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league,
Yeah.
or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as
Yeah.
You're literally dumb as
And here's the contradiction. Players fought for decades to have women's basketball taken seriously as a collective, but today, all the attention is bottlenecked into one player. The WNBA wanted to grow as a league, yet it's Clark who dictates ticket prices, Clark who drives ESPN viewership, Clark who sells out arenas coast to coast. So let's ask the uncomfortable question. Is Caitlin Clark the savior of women's basketball, or is she exposing just how fragile it still is? Because if the league truly can't thrive without her, then the WNBA isn't standing tall. It's standing on her shoulders, and that's a shaky foundation for a billion-dollar future. What makes Caitlin Clark different? Why has she become the gravitational center of the WNBA in a way no other star ever has? The answer lies in the rare combination of skill, style, and story. On the court, Clark isn't just a scorer, she's a show. Her deep three-pointers have become must-see TV, not just because she makes them, but because she takes them with a swagger that screams Steph Curry-level confidence. Add in her court vision, a league-leading 8.4 assists per game, and she's not just padding her own stats, she's creating highlights for everyone around her. She turns average possessions into viral clips. That matters in today's social media-driven sports economy. Off the court, her image is just as powerful. She's relatable, marketable, and appeals to demographics the WNBA has struggled to reach for decades. Families, casual fans, even NBA-only diehards are tuning in. Not for the league, but for her. That's why she landed an 8-year, $28 million Nike deal, the kind of endorsement package WNBA stars used to only dream about. And let's be honest, her popularity at Iowa didn't just carry over, it supercharged the WNBA. That college fan base followed her into the pros, turning every Fever game into a national event. But the most dangerous part, her value outpaces her salary by millions. Clark earned about $76,000 as a rookie, less than some NBA role players make in a single game. Her actual worth to the WNBA, nearly impossible to calculate. Analysts say she's adding close to $1 billion in economic activity this season alone. That gap between what she brings in and what she's paid.
It's like going to a concert. And the anticipation when she pulls up from 30 feet, the reaction of the crowd, the attention from home, the emotional investment from fans, and a broad stroke of fans is unlike anything I've experienced in the sports that I cover. So covering her games is just a completely unique experience in the best way.
On the positive side, Clark's presence has forced networks, sponsors, and fans to take women's basketball seriously. Young girls see her on the cover of magazines, families see her games on primetime TV, and suddenly, women's sports aren't a niche, they're a headline. The league has leveraged this surge into a historic $2.2 billion media rights deal, something unthinkable just 5 years ago. But here's the problem. Growth built on one superstar isn't sustainable. The NBA survived Jordan's retirement because it had a bench of stars. Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, ready to carry the torch. The WNBA? It has talented players like Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, and Angel Reese, but none of them pull national audiences like Clark. If she gets injured, if she burns out, or if her popularity fades, the league risks losing not just a star, but its entire identity. That's why this debate matters. Caitlin Clark might be the greatest gift the WNBA has ever received, but unless the league finds a way to spread the spotlight, she could also become its greatest vulnerability, because no sport can survive if it becomes a one-player league. So here we are. The WNBA has never been bigger, bolder, or more visible, and the reason is crystal clear. Caitlin Clark. She's the rookie who turned empty seats into sold-out arenas, the young star who turned preseason games into national events, and the player whose impact could top $1 billion in a single season. That's not just influence, that's empire building. But with empire comes risk. The WNBA cannot afford to live in Caitlin Clark's shadow forever. If the league becomes a one-player show, it risks collapsing the moment that show ends. And let's be honest, sports history is littered with cautionary tales. Think about how women's tennis was once called the Serena Show, or how Tiger Woods carried golf until his downfall exposed how shallow the sport's depth of stars truly was. The WNBA cannot repeat that mistake. Here's the reality. Caitlin Clark is both the spark and the stress test. She's proven that women's basketball can draw massive crowds, national sponsorships, and primetime TV slots. The question is whether the WNBA will use this moment to elevate its other stars, or whether it will ride Clark until the wheels fall off. So is Caitlin Clark too big for the WNBA? Maybe, but the better question is this: can the WNBA grow big enough to keep up with her? Because right now, she's not just part of the league, she is the league. And that should inspire both excitement and fear. What do you think? Is Caitlin Clark saving the WNBA or exposing its weakness? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more hard-hitting sports talk, because this conversation is only getting started.